welcoming Mr. Ratnesh Verma, founder and CEO, Page.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're just trying to figure out some digital gaps. Thank you so much. All right, how's everybody feeling after lunch? Slow. I just came from outside and there's a lot more food, just in case you were still hungry. So I'm going to try and keep this brief, but it's a pleasure being here. I'm Ratnesh. I'm the founder CEO at Page. I really do want to thank IEF and ION for this ecosystem changing initiative, building a shared digital rails for participation by MSME. We've been hearing about that through the day. But more importantly, it's also really an honor to be here to see the support of the government, to see the excitement in the government. And, you know, a public infrastructure project like this does not work if the government is not behind it. And that has been really, really reassuring. But let me set one context from the Pitch perspective. Pitch exists in markets like India and Indonesia because where commerce doesn't fail due to lack of demand. There's a lot of demand, but commerce fails for lack of reliable delivery. If you cannot end e-commerce in a delivery, if your order is not going to reach your home, e-commerce doesn't work. And we started Pitch with that one simple mantra, how to get that delivery reliably every single time. And that is really where and very similar ecosystem to India, where the market is fragmented. There are some big players, there are some big cities, but that's not Indonesia, that's not India. The real India and Indonesia is actually in the smaller cities. It's in the smaller businesses. These guys have smartphones, and I was reading somewhere over 70% smartphone penetration in Indonesia. They don't have a laptop. How do you digitize them? They don't use digital tools. So the real secret is to be able to make technology so accessible to them, it's like using WhatsApp. How do you build business digital tools that are as simple to download, get started as a WhatsApp? That's where we decided to change the ecosystem. That's where we, have excelled in India and bring over here. The lens we bring to Indonesia, we're not here as another app. We're not here to compete for attention. We are here as an ecosystem enabler, the partner that helps small businesses, large businesses, small cities, large cities, and logistics providers that can participate with confidence and with independence. That's really who we are. And our work is to build early trust. I think we've heard about that from multiple people. A protocol like this, an initiative like this works only when there is trust. How do you build trust in logistics? Through visibility, through transparency, through accountability, through guaranteed performances. And that's really what the platform delivers. When you say, I have ordered, you know that you're going to get that delivery. Indonesia is unique, and I'm really enamored. And by the way, I have been traveling to Indonesia for the last 20 years, and I'm absolutely amazed to see the growth, the development in Indonesia. but I also understand it has the diversity, it has the depth, which is very, very unique. It's not just the number of islands, but it's the population in those islands. It's the 30 million MSMEs, and let's not forget the other 30 million MSMEs, which are the fisheries and the smaller businesses. That's 60 million of them. And how do you turn each one of them into a seller to be able to go wider, to be able to grow? Because one thing that I am a very, very firm believer of in countries like India, in countries like Indonesia, and I don't call them emerging markets. I really don't. I think somebody used that expression in the morning. I think we're fast-growing economies. And when you're in a fast-growing economy like Indonesia, growth has to be inclusive. It cannot be a pull growth. It has to be a push growth. And that's really what an ecosystem, a platform like ION is going to solve for. And we're very, very excited to be a part of this. Protocols. We've been hearing about protocols. There are protocols for everything. Protocols create interoperability. Products create participation. Now, interoperability means different things for different people. Has different meanings at different layers. So that's what makes interoperability even more complex. When you are a large, courier company like a DHL or a FedEx, interoperability for them is let's optimize more, let's reduce idle time. But when you're a small local courier company with 5 riders or 3 riders, for them interoperability means keep me busy, make sure that I'm getting a lot of business. Very different meanings. The real objectives of a logistics network where any MSME can participate, not just the most sophisticated ones. And this is where we have seen, and under Koshi's leadership in India, we were able to see a penetration right down to the grassroots. And that is really where ION will succeed, when it succeeds at the grassroots. How do you really enable everybody at the grassroots? And I said earlier, digital adoption is low. Digital awareness is low. And if I may loosely, and I use the word digital, there is a lot of low digital literacy. How do you change that? How do you make it? This is not just about an open network. This is not just about a protocol. This is also about digital literacy across the country, across Indonesia. Getting everybody to use digital tools for running their businesses. So protocols, as I said, is one layer. Adoption happens at the product layer. And what we're really solving for, and as Page, what we solve for is that execution gap between a protocol existing and the ecosystem actually using it. Indonesia and India share a key structural reality: fragmented supply. Yes, there are the big players. Yes, there are the mega corporations. But when you go deeper, it's very, very fragmented. We are here to transfer the learning, not the template. Because, yes, the intent, the vision is similar between ONDC and ION, but the templates are very, very different. The realities are very different. And we need to be able to cater to those realities. So we are here with our learnings and to learn more, to be able to make sure that the adoption is really happening at the ground level. We bring battle-tested patterns. I use the word AI fairly sparingly, but the reality is, at the end of the day, the technology is smart enough to self-learn. We will have to create that together with everybody in this room and more outside of this room to be able to make systems that are constantly self-learning, that are constantly getting better, where the ecosystem adoption, utilization is effective. Pitch has built India's largest marketplace of supply. And it is really my vision, ambition, together with what Sachin said earlier, what ION stands for, is to be able to see that digital equalization across the ecosystem. And that's really what, we're here for, to build that digital literacy and that digital ecosystem with everyone in the depth. At the top, it's brilliant. At the depth, it has an opportunity. The biggest risk to protocols and platforms like ION is not the design. It's also not the support. It's also not the alignment on the vision. It's non-participation. And how do you build that participation? Let's start at the top. Let's start with the big businesses. Why don't they adopt it? The smaller ones, we understand, lack that digital literacy and that digital awareness, and they want to see proof of value. Why should I have it? Where is the benefit for me? But for the larger ones, getting them on board is equally important as well, because this is a protocol, this is a network for everyone. And that's really how the MSMEs will drive it. If it's 50% of the economy, 60% of the economy, how do you make that proportion even higher? The rails must feel open in practice. Onboarding can't be a multi-month engineering project. That's where things become either efficient or not efficient. How do you really get someone in a remote village, on a remote island, get started in 10 minutes? They don't have the time, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have even the motivation unless and until it's kept really, really seamless. So that's where the product comes in to support the protocol. And we're really committed to ION by enabling faster pilots, faster iteration, faster ecosystem learning, and in a very autonomous manner. Not having people travel everywhere, because that's not going to create really mass adoption. How do you do that in a self-onboarding, self-learning, and let's get going in under 15 minutes kind of an ecosystem? Logistics is where open networks really face the reality. And this is, I think, something for all of us to be aware of. When you really think of digital platforms, they're truly digital, right? UPI, truly digital. Any payment gateway, truly digital. No human intertouch, no human interface at all. But when you start thinking about commerce, the last bit of commerce, getting that delivery to your home, is manual. There is a human there. The performance is dependent on the human. However good the buyer and the seller apps be, at the end of the day, if it's not getting delivered to your home, it's not working. How do you build that reliability? How do you build that trust? And, again, from our point of view, we look at the entire platform, the entire protocol in its true intent, the intent of inclusiveness. Everybody is welcome to participate. The protocol actually supports that. Open networks need a translator, and that's a very critical component. It needs a translator between the complex ground reality, which includes lack of digital awareness and adoption, and a clean protocol expectation. How do you bridge that? So you got the protocol, and you got the protocol expectation, and then you got the ground reality. How do you bridge that in a seamless, frictionless manner? And we ensure that participants, when integrate once, they reuse it again and again and again and again across the buyers, across the sellers, across the logistic options, across everything else. And for ION, this means consistency, it means scalability, and a pathway for small operators to join without any, and I repeat this, without any tech lift. They don't have to do the tech heavy lifting. That's where adoption comes. And adoption accelerates when integration is fast and reliable. I think we've heard that. Suresh mentioned it. Sachin mentioned it. The couple of honorable ministers mentioned it. And we have built open API. Think of, and I know Siddharth here is from Google, think of Pidge as an open API as Google, not a closed ecosystem like Apple. And I love Apple, by the way, but it's an open ecosystem. Anybody can plug into it. And we've integrated the largest organizations, the most complex legacy systems in under 48 hours. That's what makes it different. So it doesn't matter. I mean, some of the larger businesses have legacy systems. They don't want to change. And we're not telling them to change, but we're telling them to be inclusive. Let everybody benefit. And to be able to integrate that in under 2 days is what open APIs can do. And I'm not going to stand here and explain what APIs are, but I hope you get it's just the connector pieces which allow for that integration in a seamless manner. I love the ambition, Sachin, where you say ION becomes the fastest. And I'm going to add on to it, fastest in terms of real usage. From today, the launch, February 5th, when can we get the first delivery done on ION? That would be the fastest. And that's really what excites us to be able to commit and to be able to be a part of this very, very exciting journey. ION is a population-level enablement, and it succeeds when there are improved outcomes for every business. Our recognition recently by the MSME, the government of India, as the best logistics innovator in the ecosystem is a validation by some of the leading innovation agencies in the world, is a validation that we're trying to really change and build about that difference. And with that context, I'm now going to invite my co-founder, Rushil, who will go deeper into exactly how this comes together, how this comes to life, the ION architecture, the operating model, and what it takes to scale in a reliable manner. Rushil?
Thank you, Ratnesh, and thank you to everyone who's here, distinguished guests, ministers, and the population in this room representing the growth that we want to see in Indonesia. Right, so we've spoken a lot about the MSMEs. Let's talk about what about Pidge is actually built for that MSME, for that Mitra, for that Warung from day one. You come in, you want to be able to build your own delivery company and have access to all that demand from day one. With Pidge, we've created a system that is completely mobile first. You don't need a laptop, you simply need to log in. All your validation, all your governance, everything is on mobile. You integrate with systems that are already on ION, but may also be part of the larger ministry and MSMEs governance programs. All our products are completely native, to Indonesia. They are all available in Bahasa. They can also be rewritten in any of the local dialects, depending on what the market needs. Extremely guided, learning-based products. Even if you come in with 2 riders, in under 15 minutes, you could be doing your first delivery. Pidge in India, Pidge on ONDC is who it is because of a product that we call Pidge Powered Networks. When you really think about it, what is different between a delivery company and somebody who has delivery executives? It's the ability to publish pricing. It's the ability to publish serviceability. And I won't get too technical with it because we have the time to go through that. But what does matter is that my delivery executives become a delivery company, even if they only operate in the 10-kilometer radius around me. Why do they not deserve the same chance, the same opportunity that the larger companies get? That's what Pidge Powered Networks has done. It allows you to create that company in a matter of minutes. But, and I feel we all share that ambition, once you have your delivery company, you want to build your own name. You want your products to look and feel like you, and that white-labeled nature of each and every product means that every single one of the 30 million MSMEs could be powered on the same protocol on ION, the same infrastructure layer on Pidge, but by their own name across all of Google Play Store, all of iOS App Store, and in every single mobile phone in the country. We know that logistics is one part of the e-commerce journey. It is the part that makes a possible revenue become an actual revenue. But there is a lot that goes into actually managing logistics. Everything in terms of cash reconciliation, payments management, rostering, attendance, surveillance, all of these features, all of these functionalities start becoming bottlenecks to growth. At Pidge, we solve for this over and above all the provision we have for actual logistics enablement. This is about the logistics journey and everything around it as much as it is about the delivery itself. At the core of it, the amount of data that we process feeds 2 of our core engines, Pidge Titan, which is the real-time cost, capacity, SLA, and traffic management engine. It allocates deliveries efficiently because as delivery becomes faster, we can't be taking minutes, hours to actually find an executive. Pidge Hail actually takes that one step further. When the system gathers enough data, we can start preemptively assigning delivery executives so that even before the order comes, the delivery executive is already waiting there. And this is something that, again, makes Pidge who it is, makes Pidge efficient, and as we all know, efficiency, interoperability means more goodness for everyone involved. We've spent a lot of time talking about how complex Indonesia's geography is, and that's where a lot of the more technical tools, we'll have a lot of time to talk about this later, but our technical tools in the form of our route output recommendation engine and our predictive, data forecasting engine actually allow efficiency to happen ahead of time, even in extremely complex geographies like Indonesia, where multimodal, multi-leg deliveries are absolutely necessary. And again, more orders, more logistics should not mean more expenses. A lot of the tools that we have built, whether it's our communications engine, whether it's our automation workflow engine, or whether it's our surveillance dashboard, actually allow people to be more efficient, with fewer resources. We should be spending our time on growing our economy growing the country's economy, not on managing, all the repercussions of taking on a new network. Ultimately, compliance, governance, social responsibility is at Pidge's core. We, of course, build predictive models around scoring and behavior, but we are GDPR compliant, SOC 2 compliant, BDP compliant, ISO compliant, because ultimately, your data belongs to you. We only serve to make this entire ecosystem richer. Again, a lot of tools around surveillance, tracking, asset agnostic, boats, trains, planes, cars, and automobiles. We track it all. Again, it is about everything that goes into delivery, not just the act of giving the good to the end customer. Pidge with ION, with ONDC, and at its core is a platform product, is designed to support all related ancillary services as well, whether it's anything in fintech, anything in insurance, anything in asset tracking, telematics, diagnostics. Pidge has provision to support it all. I briefly mentioned this, but we do strongly believe in collaborative development, and as we learn the new challenges, the new opportunities in Indonesia, the Pidge system, the foundation is designed for that evolution of product, which is highly localized to this country and geography. We're here to talk about protocols. At Pidge, we want to turn that protocol to prosperity. We want to see these 30 million MSMEs, the 1 million of those who are already in the transportation and logistics space, the 7,000 islands, all become part of a richer economy. And our commitment to ION, to Sachin, to Koshi, to everyone who has trusted the platform and is here today and will be in the future, to really see ION become the fastest, the biggest, the best executed open network that we've seen so far. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rushil Mohan, co-founder CPTO. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now move into the panel discussion under the theme Delivering Digital Commerce, the logistic layer. To moderate this discussion, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Shoeb Kagda, co-founder Indonesia Economic Forum. At the same time, I would like to invite our distinguished panelists to join us on stage and take their respective seats. Guru Prasad Deshpande, founder and CEO Zapco. Mr. T. Koshi, founding MD and CEO of ONDC. Mr. Alfonso Steva, CEO Automa. And of course, Mr. Ratnesh Verma, founder and CEO Pidge. Once again, please give a warm round of applause as our moderator, Mr. Shoeb Kagda.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to moderating this very distinguished panel of speakers. Ratnesh, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation earlier. I think, as it's been rightly pointed out, logistics is a major, it could be a bottleneck, but also at the same time, a major driver of e-commerce in Indonesia. Now, Indonesia's e-commerce sector, of course, has been one of the fastest growing in the region. It's about $100 billion today in MVP, but it's likely to grow to 130 billion. So there's a lot of growth in there. But again, a lot of the MSMEs are excluded from this growth. So I think with ION, really the hope is that we can be more inclusive and helping many of these smaller micro enterprises. I think we mentioned there was 30 million micro enterprises, in Indonesia. Many of them may not really need to scale largely, but they do need to probably grow, and they need to see. Hopefully, many of them are, single owners or husband and wife outfits, and they need income, really, and I think sustainable income, which is really more important than, growth sometimes, yeah. So let me just welcome my panel to this session. Mr. Guru Prasad, thank you for joining us. Mr. Koshi and Mr. Alphonse, and of course, Ratnesh. Thank you very much. So let me maybe start off with Mr. Koshi. I think you're the brains behind ONDC in India, and ION is going to be following the Indian model, so to speak, in terms of its implementation in Indonesia. We've seen or we've heard all the good things about it. What do you think are the key challenges for ION as it grows in Indonesia?
Let me thank you a lot, and thanks for calling on me to sort of be a part of this very distinguished panel who are actually practitioners on the ground. I'll look at from the point of view of logistics and beyond, and logistics and O&D in that sense. You heard again and again in the whole day how it is going to be inclusive. What does inclusivity means? That a lot of when supply side, a lot of small sellers will become a part of the network. Network means their reach will increase, and it will reach across to a lot of sellers who are dispersed all across this 16,000 islands. How many are inhabited? That's a wonderful idea, but to make that possible, one of the very critical elements is logistics. See, today, in every economy, there are logistics companies and logistics companies. Most of them, either they are really small mom and shop, or they are big national chain. And big national chains have the full wherewithal to have all the components, not just some delivery boys. It's about the technology to keep track of the large volume of transactions in the most efficient and cost, effective fashion, to make sure that the resources can be utilized very effectively. So, but then they will look at those clients for whom, they have reasonably big enough, because it also means you'll have to go and do a digital integration with that company. You have to go and do a contractual negotiation. You have to develop a contract, all those things. So they'll say, okay, I will rather deal with certain size. I'm meant to be making life easier for that. So who's the one who's going to affect? The small supplier and the small buyer get, really suffer. And so they will have to go at alternate channels, and alternate channels become expensive. So all this become like a big mess. So what will really oil this whole situation and make a participation truly inclusive is very efficient network of logistics. And that is also possible when, like you heard Ratnesh saying, you heard us also discussing in the morning, is that it will need to have a way of integrating the big and small in a seamless fashion. So there could be in a small village some guy who can handle 5, the delivery boys for 10 shopkeepers around. Okay. Initially, each of them, nobody is able to manage, so everybody will say, I'll keep 2 people each. So you're having 20 people who are ineffectively utilized. Imagine they all collectively are able to coordinate the routing of 5 people. even if there is 5 people to be effectively routed, you need good technology solution to happen. So that's why the collaboration of such providers do come. The model that Ratnesh was explaining will become very relevant. And that is not one entity's power. So it has to become like an ecosystem development. So I'm happy that we have recognized that as a challenge. And for a country like Indonesia, it is even more a critical thing. And that is when the small people can sell anything larger, they can enhance. Their market expansion will happen from that. And when Sachin and I discussed and said we will build on the ION, so we realized the importance of this as first stage. And we also discussed with many of our friends who had helped me in shaping up this agenda in India. He said that they made a lot of mistakes, some of them costly, some of them not so costly, some of them, at the end of it, they learned to run the business. And many of them, like Pidge is here, and there is also one more team is here who has done similar logistics stuff. They all came and said, we will come and share our knowledge. Because it is not one person's win. You need an ecosystem of players coming together, collaborating together. So, and that way seamlessly working with the seller application, seamlessly working with the mobility. So I was just thinking, yesterday I think Ratnesh I discussed, like in that small town, if we can get this 5 people who will also do the, mobile taxis there during the, and other times they go and do the delivery. That way the utilization improves, the cost comes down. See, these kind of innovations really become possible when it become a part of the network with a lot of common components made available by people. If each of them have to develop their own, they're dead. They will just die. So in this context, that is why I believe that this is a very critical component. I just want to set the context and leave it to the practitioners who are sitting here, how they see this and how they're going to make it a reality.
Thank you. And I think that's a nice segue into Mr. Guru Prasad in terms of, you've been in Indonesia for a while, and I think you have an interesting business strategy in acquiring excess, what do you call it, surplus from companies and then redistributing that. How do you see ION affecting your business? And also in terms of the challenges that you see operating in Indonesia?
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I run Zapco. Zapco is a platform for liquidating, selling off the surplus inventory. So when we started this, we had a huge challenge as to where do we sell this, right? Because obviously we cannot sell it in the regular supply chain. That conflicts with the principal's supply chain as well. So we took a decision to empower the rural areas of Indonesia. So we started selling it to all the tier 2, tier 3, the tiered villages specifically. We started selling it to the communities and those areas. When we did this, we were relatively successful. The reason why we have not been fully utilizing this particular strength of ours is primarily due to logistics. If you look at, we are a distributed environment in Indonesia, and we have spoken about multiple islands, etc. So we have been successful to the extent of penetrating up to 20,000 villages out of 80,000 villages in Java alone. But how are we penetrating in Sumatra? How are we penetrating in Kalimantan, probably towards the eastern Indonesia? As of now, we don't have a solution. See, this is basically, we have an opportunity, right? And we also have a challenge in terms of the not having proper logistic support. Even if we have a logistic support, unfortunately, we have to rely, or there's a heavy dependency on the logistics players, right? So, like very simple, I have got 10,000 cartons to liquidate, and I call up a logistics player and say, hey, I want to, take these cartons and distribute it across, say, 5 touch points. right? And the logistics player tells me that we need about 5 trucks. Now, how on earth I am to believe that yes, whether I require 5 trucks or probably 4 trucks or it could be 6 trucks, I don't have a clue today, right? So which means we have a fundamental problem of finding out what is it that we need basically to deliver this. That's one. I mean, I'm not even talking about the customer success and customer experience at that point in time. And I'm sure Ratnesh was talking about excellence in deliveries, but yeah, I would love to have that someday. But having said that, I think the first challenge is that. The second is basically what is the route optimization, right? I mean, how is it that these trucks are going to fit? Because all these MSMEs that we talk about, right? I mean, they're all in the villages. There are no proper roads, right? So how do I know that if my trucker says that you need 5 huge wing boxes? Now from there, he gives me a call saying that, Pa, Tida Bisa Pa, you can't go in that route because the truck is not able to fit that route. Now, understand, right? I'm sitting on this side and I get a call and my delivery manager who is here, so she wakes me up at 2 a.m. in the morning and says what to do. So what I'm saying at the end of the day is the absence of simple things in life makes business much more complicated, though it is not complicated if you look at traditionally. So these are some of the challenges that we have had. And I think with EON coming in, it gives a lot of opportunity for companies like us, not only in logistics, but also in terms of consumerism or the B2B consumerism as we call. So primarily, like for example, we are a very closed ecosystem because obviously we are dealing with a sensitive business. Not all principals love to expose their surplus inventory on our platform because obviously they say, hey, by the way, this shouldn't become the core business, right? I mean, their objective should be to reduce the surplus inventory. But on the contrary, we are helping them to manage the surplus inventory, which is primarily helping them to manage their working capital and cash. It's a two-way benefit. So our set of buyers who are registered on our platform would see only what is listed on our platform, which is in a very closed ecosystem. Now with EON, now this opens up. Now someone who is sitting on the other side of the island, probably in Ambon or probably in Sulawesi, would not even know today who Zapco is. So there would be a lot of awareness, visibility, and more importantly, our products are quite cheaper when compared to the regular marketplaces. So probably we become the right of first refusal for those buyers. So this is from a e-commerce perspective. From a logistics perspective, with introduction of technology, introduction of the automation, a lot more companies probably either using the other country's expertise or probably using Indonesia's expertise itself. So they can get onboarded on EON, and probably for all you know, you might deal with those companies who have solutions to these kind of problems, right? So I think it's an overall stakeholder benefit. I would not say that it's just beneficial for either logistics or the commerce. It could be someone who's sitting in Ambon who has got a license to give a loan. So he might say that, hey, I would probably extend a working capital or a supply chain loan for all the buyers who buy from Zapco. So we don't know whether that person is somewhere in Indonesia. So it's an all stakeholder, I would say, every stakeholder in this ecosystem gets benefited. That's how I see this as a huge benefit, not only to Zapco, but the entire stakeholders in this ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I have one of the panelists here who may be able to solve one issue that you have, which is you don't know how many trucks you need, because Mr. Alphonse from Automa runs transport and logistics business, and he's able to track from across the supply chain where the trucks are going. So, Mr. Alphonse, thank you for joining us. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how your business runs and how ION would benefit you. And maybe lastly, if you could answer Mr. Guru's issue about understanding how much, or understanding the volume of goods that he needs to move.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I am Alphonse. My company is Automa. We are supply chain technology companies. I have chance to visit India in that last October, visiting the Tamil Nadu Global Startup. Thousands of startups from India is coming. It's very enthusiastic expos, and I feel that India always have a spirit of collaboration after visiting that. So thank you very much for inviting us. And my company helping logistic companies, another logistic companies or distributors to track and also evaluate their supply chain by implementing IoT and AI. So basically from our discussion this day and quoting from user, we have to invent tools that as easy as WhatsApp for the people. Because actually when we talk about digitalization, people in Indonesia are reluctant because it's adding activity to their daily business. So if the activity is not creating a direct benefit for them, even if it is creating direct benefit, but it's too complicated, they didn't do it. Or they just pretending to do it. And it's worse. And my company is actually helping another company to track their shipment deliveries and also the cost of delivery that they have done. In Indonesia, we have several cases of fuel theft or maybe goods that's not delivered to the right places. If you only using like a asset management tools, you need to really analyze anything. But our platform is actually helping you to give instant analytics, so you would know whether you reach your destination or not, the predicted ETA, connected with weather and also traffic, something like that. And answering the question about the need of the containers. What I learned from the logistic business is if the goods is already departing from your warehouse, everything is mystery because nobody know anything in the road. But with technology right now, we could help at least grasping what happened in the road. With the telematics, with the video tracking, we know how we could measuring our box in trucks. So we made our truck simulation application. So if you have trucks owner that want to use that and connect it to your application, you could directly model your delivery under one cargo. So it's not due to the logistics company again, but it's due to the system that models and calculate. It's not a common technology that implement in Indonesia because many is still rely upon the driver's mood, right? When the first time I implement my GPS trackers to the trucks, even the drivers say that these GPS trackers make my life harder because they couldn't get a proper nap in the afternoon and something like that. So 50% of the problem in the market is social problem. We try to close it with technology, but we still have homework how to make them using the technology. So I think right now is the good time for IoT and AI to make any technology is still a little bit passively for the people. So they're just doing anything like a day-to-day business, but then we could analyze and make decision upon the data that we collected.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think tracking is becoming very critical, especially when you move across a country like Indonesia, which is archipelagic, and moving across Java may be easy, but then if you're going from Java to Kalimantan or Java to Kupang or Java to Sulawesi, then it becomes a bit more of a challenge. Ratnesh, maybe I can come to you now. You in your speech earlier and also yesterday when we chatted, one of the key, what would you call, factors of how we can successfully implement ION is trust. And how do you build trust, especially among sellers and buyers? In the platforms that are walled gardens, there is vetting of vendors who come on this platform. But this is an open system. So how do you vet whether a seller, if I'm a buyer, I would want to know that whoever is on this platform can be trusted, right? So how do you build that trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I'm going to go back and start with a very human behavior, psychological kind of an answer. I don't trust what I don't see. I don't trust what I don't know. And that's the reality of business. That's the reality of human psyche. The more you build that visibility at every step. Now, even the largest, and I'm not going to take names here, but the largest of the marketplaces in the world, and I'm talking $1 trillion plus companies, when they have a product that is out for delivery, it says, your product is out for delivery and will be delivered anytime between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Am I expected to stay at home? I don't know when it's coming. Exactly. Right? But if I knew and I could track it, I could see it, that builds trust. One of the reasons why cash on delivery is still the largest used payment method in our part of the world. Why? If I make this payment, will my product come home? So that's really where trust comes. You have to understand the end consumer psychology. And a lot of times where products and protocols face challenge is because they're trying to solve for the merchant and not for the end consumer. When you start solving for the end consumer and you start building that transparency, that visibility to the end consumer, the businesses will succeed. 100% they will succeed. There will be trust at the business level. The trust at the business level can only be built if there is trust at the consumer level. So you have to change the problem statement. And so far, I think where, I've seen a lot of technology solutions really, be challenged and struggle is because they're always saying, oh, my customer is the business, so I need to solve for the business. At Pitch, we realized, my customer is the customer's customer. I solve for the end consumer. If my end consumer's business is happy, then the business is happy. And that's where trust comes. You have to be clear who you're solving for.
Right. Well, that's, I think, a great insight because a lot of times we only think of the first person you're serving.
You're always thinking about the guy who's paying your bill.
Yes.
So I have Guru as my customer. I think about him because he's paying my invoices at the end of the month. No, I have to think about his consumer. Then he's happy, then I'm happy. And that's where the trust builds.
Right. So we have some questions now. Maybe Ratnesh, you're still on the spot. You can read a question. How can open interoperable logistics networks concretely reduce delivery costs and improve service reliability for MSMEs and cooperatives across Indonesia's archipelagic geography?
So I'm going to start with, there are two parts to this answer. First part is exactly the question that Guru said. He's from a simple math point of view. It's basically capacity, knowledge, awareness, optimization. Now, I was in a warehouse in the US where there was zero manpower. There was one drone that was just circling and taking the capacity, doing the inventory, doing the stock management, and also taking out capacity of each of the box. So when your shipment is leaving, all you need is one drone, and that measures how much space you need. And next time, you don't have to ask Alphonse in terms of like, I need 5 trucks. He's like, I need 36 cubic meter of space. Now optimize that. The second part is latency. Latency, in simple words, is idle time. Do you know what idle time costs the logistics industry on an average? 26%. When you start optimizing for idle time, you reduce cost. When you start optimizing for capacity, you reduce cost. It's all a simple math of optimization. And it's the same thing. I mean, we had, the honorable person from an employment point of view. It's the same with employees. It's productivity. It's the same with logistics. It's productivity. And something that Koshi said very well, that, hey, if my rider is standing, he needs earning. Why can't I use him for a bike ride? Absolutely you can. You have to get rid of the biggest evil in logistics, which is idle time. And that's where you reduce cost. Just think of it. The guy who's doing your delivery is a human who needs earnings. If you can give him alternate sources of earnings, you can reduce your cost. Now he's charging from you for working for 6 hours a day. But if you can make him work 10 hours a day, he doesn't need to make up for 10 hours in 6 hours.
Right.
That's the secret.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much for that. We have another question for Guru and Alphonse. From a logistic provider's perspective, what commercial and operational incentives are critical to participate in an open digital commerce network without exclusivity or lock-in? Maybe Alphonse first, yeah?
Yes, check. Thank you. So in my perspective, meeting with several truck owners and transporters, the first one is actually the ability to get more sales. Because when they are opening themselves into an open network, maybe they could, in their mind, they think that they could lose the sales that they own first. But if there are an opportunity to get more sales, and it could be easily done, they will participate with good. And the second one is actually the complicatedness of joining the open networks. If it's complicated and they still have options, they will not do it. It's not only on the business level, but also on the operation level. Even if you asking the driver to keeping the POD, the proof of deliveries, some of them is not doing that. So that's also a challenge for us in Indonesia.
Right. So human behavior, really.
Human
right?
behavior, yes.
Which I think is a big challenge. Would you agree with that, Guru? Or
Yeah,
what would be your take on it?
I would definitely agree with my friend. Basically, it's like this, right? So a driver's job today is a thankless job. I mean, that's something that we all have to agree, right? I mean, driving on the road for 6 hours, 10 hours is definitely it's not a pleasurable ride for anyone, right? And obviously, when you're talking about transporting the goods, people have to be, and especially when people like us, the marketplaces, pay for the insurance, right? I mean, they have to be doubly careful, right? So obviously, it's going to take a toll on their regular routine, toll on their health, and many other things. So what we generally do, because and there's something that we could afford to do because we are in the business of liquidating the surplus inventory. We talk to the service providers, the trucking companies, and see if we could probably incentivize the drivers. SLA-based, SLA-driven incentives, like we say that, hey, we know that from here to, let's say if you have to go to Jogja, it'll take about a day and a half. We're not saying that you got to rush, but we are saying that, hey, when you calculate the entire traffic, etc., if it takes about, say, within 36 hours, if you are able to deliver this, so let's say that we give back 0.25% or 0.5% of the invoice, so that at least the drivers get incentivized. So that's something that we have been thinking to start with. Obviously, somewhere someone has to bell the cat, right? So it doesn't make sense for us to keep telling the trucking companies that, hey, I want this to happen. In a country like Indonesia, where it's driven by the market realities, sentiments, I think we also have to be humane enough to see what practically works in this country. So that's one thing that we are trying. So I think once these guys fall into that particular, I would say, periphery of working for incentive, this probably can be used as a tool or probably for meeting the SLAs. Right? So this is something that I'm not saying we have started, but at least we are thinking on those lines because we don't have a visibility today, right? I mean, I've worked for a transportation automation company. I understand what Ratnesh is talking about, what Alphonse has been talking about, but end of the day, whether trucking companies implement this, it's difficult. This as simple as using a GPS. Now, what do you do if a driver switches off the GPS in the afternoon, takes a nap, and then delivers the goods? You can't track it, right? So no matter what kind of applications you build in, unless and until there's a discipline of, as someone rightly said, the adoption, it's difficult, right? So I think the best way is to try the cash incentives to begin with and see how that works. And if that works, then probably convert that as a regular thing in life.
Right. Oshi, what insights do you have on providing incentives to ensure the success of the an open system, open network?
Incentive is a two-sided knife. In some of the cases, like in any business, when some starting, you use some kind of attractions to trigger trial. But that cannot be used to make somebody dependent on their business model with that. If that's the case, the moment this incentive goes, it dies. Okay, so it has to, but some of the places, one of the biggest curse of these things happened actually in e-commerce, because if you look at everywhere in the world, their strategy, of platforms, I have a very lighter way of saying, is drug the buyer and pimp the seller. So you develop a habit, drug him, it's like having heroin addiction. Eventually, when nobody is in this charity, it is with a very definite business interest that we are in this. So why am I giving you freebies? So that you become dependent on me and nobody else can offer you, and then I'll say, now Abhi, now I got you, now you pay up. For all the freebie that you had, now you pay up. That is reality. If you don't understand, it won't work. So that is why the participants have to continuously work on, like Ratnesh and you pointed out, is that how do I make my offerings better? Open network, what it does is it suddenly opens up the supply side for everywhere, whether it is logistics. So normally a logistic player, he will say that let me get some 10 big customers. Here he doesn't have to worry. He can buy, actually he can sell his logistics like pizza is being sold by the pizza company. So instead of 10 big ones, he'll have 1,000 small ones. Maybe yields are better. So these kind of models to be developed and make their offering relevant in its own sustainable run. Then the industry would grow.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the floor? Any burning questions, or even thoughts or insights on how logistics can work on an open system? Sachin?
Hello. Thank you. So I had a question. I wanted you to kind of give your view on how, Indonesia has got so many logistics companies, and they are all under one association called ALDE, Asosiasi Logistik Digital Commerce, Digital Economy Indonesia. And they have more than 60 logistics companies, and we met them. In fact, some of them are coming over tomorrow for the sessions here. And they showed extreme interest in being interoperable among themselves. And if you could just share, what would that mean? I'm saying in practical terms, if all the logistics companies decided to work together and would be interoperable, what would be the impact? If you could just, foresee into the future.
Yep, I'll keep it very simple. So you've heard of Star Alliance, right? Code sharing. You don't need to fly your plane everywhere. You optimize for capacity. So when you build that interoperability, you're creating an alliance like a Star Alliance or a One World. So that's what really happens. Interoperability, banks have been doing it for many, many years. Imagine there was a time, some of us would remember, every bank had its own ATM. Visa had its own ATM. Now then, suddenly everybody said, okay, you know what? You can use each other's ATM. What did that do? Cell towers. You know, mobile cell towers are interoperable. Interoperability in any ecosystem, interoperability is not a new concept, but it is a very, very effective concept. And in logistics, especially in logistics, and I talked about the latency, the idle time cost that everybody's incurring. Now imagine if everybody could work together and says, you know what, you're good in that area, you focus in that area, and you get now 30% more demand. Everybody earns more, the costs come down. That's what it does.
I think that's a great point, Ratnesh. And more importantly, it creates an equitable economy. Right? Today, we are only dependent on one or two players to deliver my goods. Right? Tomorrow, you have a choice. I would always say that, hey, for these SKUs, we could use this. For these SKUs, you could use the other player. Right? At the same time, efficiency kicks in. Right? And everyone gets a chance to work together. And there's a awareness also. Like, for example, I wouldn't know sitting in Java that there's a player already in an outer island. So probably this brings in a lot more awareness and visibility into the transactions.
Maybe, Alphonse, I can ask you to chime in on this point. I mean, your company does end-to-end logistics supply chain. What Ratnesh is saying is that you can actually interoperable with other parties. Do you think that would work within Indonesia's logistics sector? So, for example, a company like yours says, okay, we'll do the trucks, but the last mile, you work with somebody else.
Yeah. So right now we do interoperable within our own networks, and it's very limited. If we could get the bigger networks, by the way, I'm also a member of ALDE, and we talk about if we could get connected, then many technology could come. Because right now, because we are not connected, many process is not standard. So when we want to connect with another players, we cannot communicate because even the business process is not the same. But when we have one networks that could be helping us to standardize, technology could come in, not only increasing efficiency, but also reducing the emissions from the carbon, from the fuel that consumed within the operation itself. Something like that.
I want to just add one complementary thing, because when there is interoperability, everybody will try to cooperate to give better services. And one of the important benefit of this, it will drive innovation. When you don't have a moat that will protect you protect your inefficiency, then you are forced to innovate. And that innovation will drive across the economy, because anybody innovating with a better solution has an opportunity. He is not kicked out. There's no mafia standing there. So that is what will continuously improve the services to the end consumer.
Got it. Yes, do you have a question there?
That's a question for Alphonse. So you talked about POD and that being a challenge. Can you walk me through what you do for POD today and what the challenge is?
So actually, the push of the digital person that won, we want to digitalize the POD itself. So we didn't need any paper. But for several conventional business, they already digitalized, but they still need paper. So we work right now with two protocols. The truly digital POD, and the second one is a paper that have to be read in a digital way. So you sign something and we have to know that this is Pak Budi that signed the delivery order or surat jalan. and then we should read their stamp, something like that. If not, they could force it in the market. So the challenge is actually making people collect the data itself in the same manner, so the AI and OCR could read it, and then make a standardized form. Because if you only sending something with form that is not standard, it will be so hard for the system to read that. That's the first challenge. And the second one is several people in deliveries didn't want to taking photos, because if we are not yet implement openness and visibility into a companies, even a photo data, metadata of a photo is becoming a problem, because they say that they come at 10 a.m. but actually they will come at 1 a.m. something like that. So if you're collecting photos directly on the place that you deliver the goods, everything is open. The time of delivery is open to the companies. That's the things that happen in the market.
Okay, I think we have time for just one last question before we wrap up the session. Any last questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Actually, not question, because everything have answered clearly to all the panelists. Just to congratulations to Pak Sachin for the finalists of launching for the Indonesia Open Network. I thought actually it's very truly inspiring that e-commerce will be reach all the SME across of Indonesia. And yes, I'm so happy with the answer of all of you, of all the panelists that have to, that's to think how to solve the problem of the logistic in Indonesia, because Indonesia is very complex. We are archipelago country, I think different with India, and the challenge is so hard, and logistic usually is a barrier for e-commerce, especially for the rural area, and the cost of logistic is very, very high. And yes, with the ION, I hope we build like the ecosystem to make that logistic more efficiently, and logistic is not a barrier, but will become enabler for the growth of the SME all over Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think with a wonderful conclusion to this session in terms of how Indonesia is moving forward, especially in its digital landscape. I think the launch of ION will be a game changer. MSMEs are a critical component, in fact, a backbone of the Indonesian economy. And I think, if we can solve the logistics issue, logistics actually encompass, I think, about 36 to 40%, Alphonse, of Indonesia's cost for companies. So it's huge, a huge advantage for Indonesian companies if we can reduce the logistics costs. And I think this is one way that is definitely going to happen. So thank you very much. Can you please join me in thanking our wonderful panel for your insights and for sharing their thoughts with us this afternoon. And hand it back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you for the discussion panel with the team delivering digital commerce, the logistic layer. May I kindly invite all the panelists to remain on stage to receive a token of appreciation from the Indonesia Economic Forum. And this moment, I would like to welcome you back, Mr. Sachin Gopalan, CEO and founder, to kindly present the token of appreciation to our distinguished panelists. For Mr. Rates Verma, founder and CEO Pitch, Guru Prasad Deshpande, founder and CEO Zapco, Mr. T. Koshi, founding MD and CEO of ONDC, and Mr. Alphonsus Deva, CEO Automa. Yeah, we also request all cameraman and photographer to capture this special moment. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them another warm round of applause. We would like to express our sincere thanks to our generous partners of today's event, Google, Protean, Keros, and Pitch. Thank you for your support in making this program possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a short break. Please feel free to enjoy the coffee and snack provided in the foyer area. We kindly invite all guests to return to the main hall to join the IEF talk, which will begin at 4 p.m. with the theme Innovative to Integrate New Tech for a New Network. Thank you.